I go back now and say, why was the NFL continuing to support with all the confusion going on in the media? And maybe it's all of that found money right there.
And out of nowhere came these young children. I don't know where they came from. And I sat next to this child, and the child sat next to Beyoncé. So I hear B say something about, doesn't this look sick?
If she is beyond reproach to you, you're worshiping her. When y'all put these people on these pedestals and not recognizing the worship that you're giving them, it sets you up for problems in the future. It is not white versus black, y'all. It is rich versus poor.
Nobody saw this coming. Not the fans, not the industry, and definitely not the people who spent years calling her untouchable. Because overnight, Beyoncé's name went from being whispered in admiration to being shouted in shock across the internet. All it took was one documentary, one Netflix release tied to Sean Diddy Combs, and suddenly timelines were flooded with the same explosive sentence over and over again. A judge ordered Beyoncé's arrest. Now, pause, because when a name that big gets attached to something that serious, logic disappears, fear kicks in, curiosity explodes.
I was at a party at Diddy crib in LA. This was the beginning of 2020.
And people stop asking, is this true? And start asking, how did this happen? Blogs rushed to post half-checked headlines. YouTubers scrambled to get videos up first. Comment sections turned into courtrooms, with strangers playing judge and jury. And right in the middle of all that noise was Beyoncé, silent, unseen, not saying a word. And that silence, that's what made people panic even more. Because in this era, silence is treated like guilt.
In a new interview with NBC, Jay-Z's lawyer Alex Spiro spoke about the relationship between the two moguls. From images of them together at many events to how they highly spoke about each other, one may think that a close bond exists between Jay and Puff. However, according to Spiro, the two have never shared a real friendship or long-time bond.
But here's where things get complicated, because the story people were sharing wasn't the story that actually happened. To understand how this rumor caught fire, you have to understand the world Beyoncé comes from. For over 2 decades, she's been marketed as perfection, discipline, control. No scandals, no messy interviews, no public breakdowns. While other stars fell apart in front of cameras, Beyoncé built walls. High ones, and those walls made people believe she was immune to chaos. But behind the polished performances and carefully timed statements, Beyoncé has always been connected to powerful circles, music moguls, industry kinks, private parties that didn't make it to Instagram. She didn't need to be loud. Her presence alone carried weight. And one of the names that's hovered around those circles for years is Sean Diddy Combs.
Now, I did a Rockaware photo shoot in Colorado, and I think it was during the winter time of 06 or 07. And Naomi Campbell was there, actress Jamie King was there, Jay was there, B was there, and he rented this house. And we were supposed to do this rap party for this photo shoot. We rented this house, and we were watching LeBron play. And after the game, it had to be like 10 or 11 o'clock. So we getting ready to party. Mind you, it's all adults. There was a 13-year-old or a 14-year-old teenage Latin girl that was there, and I think she had to leave because she had school and she had to do homework, but she brought her mother with her. So it was no funny business going on, which I could respect that. So when 11 o'clock hit, we turned on the music, we started drinking, and then out of nowhere came these young children. I don't know where they came from. For a rap party at 11 o'clock at night, drinking loud music and us dancing wild, like I don't know where these kids came from. And then I happened to sit down because I was dancing with one of the assistants. And I sat next to this child, and the child sat next to Beyoncé. So I hear B say something about, doesn't this look sexy, or isn't this sexy? And in my mind, and mind you, I'm not awakened as I'm awakened now. So in my mind, I'm like, what did she just say? And then I didn't pay no attention to it. And then, obviously the liquor took hold of me and I had to leave. So I said bye to everybody and left. But those kids remained. I don't know if those kids were from the photo shoot themselves, but the fact that these kids came around adults during drinking hours or partying hours was already alarming.
They weren't strangers. That part is public. Award shows, industry events, private gatherings where cameras weren't always welcome. For years, nobody questioned it. Diddy was celebrated. untouchable in his own right, until suddenly he wasn't.
This is extended family. You've been there with me through my ups and downs. Yes, sir. Whenever I get in trouble, this is the one I call. It's my strategist right here. This is my brother. It's B.I.G.'s brother. Yes, sir. This Brooklyn's own Brooklyn. So I appreciate you. He came 5,000 miles away to come here to Brooklyn to represent the B.I.G. Make some noise for home.
When the Netflix documentary dropped, it didn't just reopen old conversations, it dragged buried ones back into the light. Allegations, testimonies, patterns of behavior that people claimed had been ignored for decades. The documentary didn't accuse Beyoncé of a crime.
Because now Jay is saying, yo, this is not my man, which is kind of weird.
Right. They're saying
y'all you see him at mad parties together, but look at it, right? Really think about it. Did he only go to them, to what's that? He have his brunch, he be having, right?
The Rock Nation brunch.
Did he go to that? You see Diddy go to that?
Yeah.
And Jay, and then Diddy will have an all-white party and Jay go to that.
Jay goes to that.
So it's like the same parties they go to.
It didn't show her doing anything illegal, but what it did do was place her name in the same universe of power, silence, and protection. And that's all the internet needed. Within hours, clips were taken out of context, legal language was twisted, court documents unrelated to Beyoncé were screenshotted and reposted with her name on top. Someone mentioned a judge's order, not for her, but tied to a broader investigation, and that sentence mutated as it traveled. By the time it reached TikTok and YouTube Shorts, it had transformed into "Judge orders Beyoncé's arrest." No source, no document, no confirmation, just vibes, fear, and clicks. But here's the twist nobody talks about. Once a rumor reaches a certain level, it stops needing proof. People assume someone else checked. And when Beyoncé didn't immediately respond, the silence became fuel. Think about it. When was the last time Beyoncé personally denied anything? She doesn't hop online. She doesn't go live. She lets lawyers and time handle it. But this time, the speed of misinformation was faster than her usual strategy. Fans were confused, critics felt validated, and conspiracy channels treated it like confirmation. Suddenly, people were asking wild questions. Was she subpoenaed? Was she hiding? Was Jay-Z involved? None of it based on facts, all of it based on fear of what powerful people might know. And here's where the story gets darker, because this wasn't just gossip, it was character assassination disguised as curiosity. Legal experts stepped in quietly, trying to explain that no judge had issued an arrest order for Beyoncé, that there was no warrant, no charge, no court filing with her name on it. But those explanations don't go viral. Panic does. Meanwhile, Beyoncé's camp stayed quiet. And to some people, that felt intentional, like they were letting the storm pass instead of feeding it. But to others, it felt cold, like the same industry silence people accuse elites of using to protect themselves. And that's the uncomfortable part, because even when something isn't true, the feeling behind it can still stick. The idea that powerful people move differently, like consequences hit some names faster than others, that justice isn't always loud. The documentary didn't arrest Beyoncé. A judge didn't order her detention. But what did happen was something almost as damaging. Her image was dragged into a narrative she couldn't fully control. Brands watch that. Investors watch that. Industry allies watch that. And even unproven rumors leave scars. Behind closed doors, this likely forced uncomfortable conversations. Lawyers tightening contracts, advisors monitoring public sentiment, teams preparing statements they hope they never have to release. Because when your name trends next to words like arrest and judge, even falsely, the damage isn't imaginary. And let's talk about family. Beyoncé has spent years protecting her children from chaos, shielding them from headlines, from mess, from the kind of narratives that swallow celebrity families whole. Suddenly, her kid's name was trending alongside rumors that made no sense, but still hurt. Jay-Z stayed quiet too. No statements, no denials. And just like before, people read into that. They always do. Silence becomes a mirror. Everyone sees what they want in it. But here's the reality that gets lost in the noise. If a judge truly ordered Beyoncé's arrest, it wouldn't be a rumor. It would be everywhere. Court records don't hide like that. Law enforcement doesn't move in whispers, and Netflix documentaries don't have the power to issue legal orders. What happened instead was a perfect storm: a controversial documentary, a powerful name, an internet addicted to scandal, and a lack of media literacy. And the scary part? This won't be the last time it happens, because we live in an era where headlines matter more than truth, and outrage travels faster than correction. Today, it's Beyoncé. Tomorrow, it's someone else. So where does that leave us? It leaves us with questions, not about crimes, but about culture, about how fast we're willing to believe the worst, about how silence is weaponized, about how easily narratives are built without evidence. Beyoncé wasn't arrested. A judge didn't order her detention, but her name was still dragged through a fire she didn't start, and that alone shows how fragile even the most powerful images really are. Because at the end of the day, fame doesn't make you immune, it just makes the fall louder. And the real lesson here isn't about Beyoncé or Diddy or Netflix. It's about us, about what we share, what we believe, and how quickly a lie can sound like truth when it's repeated enough times. The internet moved on, as it always does. New scandals, new names, new targets. But the damage, that lingers quietly. So next time you see a headline that feels too shocking to be real, pause. Because sometimes the biggest scandal isn't what happened, it's what never did. And in this case, the loudest accusation turned out to be nothing more than noise.